Today we're here with Shane Rosenow and Andy Crocco from Rosenow Customs. Shane's been in the business for over 2 decades, and we're just interested to get more information on what you offer. And again, Shane, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Andy, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
But ultimately, I think what is your origin story? How have we got into 2 decades in the business?
You want me to go all the way back to like how Shane was born into
Well,
that?
I don't need to know how the magic happened, so to speak. But how did we get here?
Yeah, so for years I worked in retail since I can remember, and I went through some life changes, and I was in a pretty bad spot, and all I couldn't get my mind out of was what I was going through. When I was at work, I was fine, but on my days off, it was really bad. So my cousin owned, and still does, own a construction company out in Wild Rose. And he said, come out here and I'll get you so tired you won't even think about what you're going through. And that was my way to cope with it. So I went out and I started working with him, not knowing really anything about the construction industry. And he taught me so much of the quality, what it takes to take care of a customer, even things to like, we would show up to a dirt field and we would do everything from dig the foundation to do all the finish work and everything in between. And when we would do like remodels of homes, or if we were at a construction site, even if it was a brand new build or something like that, we always finished early and put everything in nice, neat piles and organized stuff. And I didn't understand that at the time.
Sure.
And I'm like, why are we doing this? We have another hour of work. He's like, no, we're going to make it look nice because somebody drives by, they see what's perceived.
Right.
We got to make it look like we're professional, because we are, and then it makes it easier the next day when you come to work to know where everything is, because everything's laid out. So I did that for a while, and I really loved the industry, but what I did not like was the physical toll it took on my body.
Sure, yeah.
So I learned out really quick, like, how can I do this and still get the satisfaction of helping a customer see the completion of the project all the way through, and not do the physical work all the time?
Yep.
And how can I help more people? So what we ended up doing was I ended up starting to work for other companies that did in-home sales. I liked it. I made a lot of money doing that. I was really successful. But I found out that there was a big problem in this industry. The manufacturing partners would always blame the installers, and the installers would blame the company that you worked for, and the sales guys it was always a blame game everywhere. So the customer was the one left with holding the issues after the contractors left.
Right.
And I didn't feel good about that, but I was good at what I did. So then I had a couple of manufacturing partners reach out to me and said, hey, you should try to do this on your own. And I said, well, the problem is I don't want to get into this blame game, because I've known in the community, I'm born and raised right here in the Fox Valley, and I don't want to put my name on something if it's not going to be taken care of.
Right.
And so I made partners with the manufacturing guys, and I said, if I put on a product and it's up to your standards and you back it, I want to make sure that we're 100% covered no matter what. So we have some of the best warranties out in the market, and we don't just offer any type of products. There's just a few select in each option that we've actually sat down with the manufacturers, and we've become as though we are the manufacturer, but we partnered with them. So wherever we get the supplies, it does not matter. We install it to the customers or to the manufacturer's specifications, so there's no loopholes around that. But ultimately, and I tell my guys this, is if anything failed on the customer's house, no matter what it is, do they truly believe that if the manufacturer doesn't cover it, if there's other issues, or even the supplier, if we can get them involved, they don't take care of the product, that Shane Rosenow and Rosenow Customs will do what's right and take care of the customer at whatever expense. There's been times where I'm like, hey, if I have to replace a full roof for a customer, I'll do that. And if it costs me my company, it costs me my company. But it's about taking care of people ultimately. And I think, if you do what's right, and we talked about this before, if you do what's right things are going to happen.
Right.
And so we just have a higher standard when it comes to how we do our installs and how we take care of our customers.
Sure.
And we live by our core values, and it allows us to make great decisions and eliminate other decisions that may not align with our culture and our core values.
Okay. So, and I want to jump over Andy.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you've been in the industry now for what, 5, 6 years?
5 years, yeah.
What changed when you made the switch to Rosenow Customs?
It really kind of what Shane was describing with our core values. It was a core value shift in the previous company that I had. When I went there, big reason why I went there is because of their core values and how they help the community and put the community first. And they got to a point where I felt like they were getting too corporate and kind of lost that way. So I wanted to find another company that not only did great work and put the customer first, but helps out in the community and really drives home the core values, because ultimately we don't have a job if we can't have the trust of the community, right? And if we don't put them first, we're not going to be in business anyways. So I really wanted to find a company that was going to put the customer first, put the community first, and align with my core values.
Okay. Go ahead, Pat.
So how did you guys meet? Have you known each other for a long time?
We have
really.
a mutual friend, actually, somebody that works for our company, and he was like, hey, you should meet my friend Andy. And we just talked about it, and I gave him some pretty strict, like, this is what I'm looking for, and he said I'm willing to take the chance, and he's moved up since last summer, and now he's our manager of the product consultants.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great growth. Glad to see that for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
So when I think Rosenow, the first thing that comes to my mind is roofing. Okay.
I'm glad you said that, because most people, when they think Rosenow Customs, the first thing comes to is either custom home building or custom cars.
I think cars.
And I've been approached by some pretty big business owners that I know and I'm friends with, and they've said you should change your name to Rosenow Exteriors. And I could, but we've built a brand over Rosenow Customs now, and we do custom exterior work,
Right.
which is different. So I'm glad that you said you think of Rosenow, you think of roofing, which is good.
I think that's because, I mean, just seeing you guys on social media.
Yeah.
I see what you offer, and a lot of times what I'm seeing, it's generally roofing projects. Sometimes I'm seeing the exterior lights. I know you guys do a lot of showing different demos of the lighting options that you have, and those are really cool. But what really made you decide to not just hone in and be laser focused on roofing? What made you decide to go and say, hey, we can do it all. We can really do siding, windows. We can do it all. What made you make that leap?
Expand your horizons.
Yeah. So at first, when it was just me, it was, how do I help enough people so I can make sure there's a paycheck so I can provide for my family.
Right.
But it's evolved over the time now. We've gotten really good at roofs, and we've changed the type of roofing that we do from standard asphalt to more of a permanent roofing solution for our customers. But we had a lot of our customers that worked with us, because we have about 30% of our customer base in the first year call us back and say, hey, would you be interested in doing XYZ project? And it got to the point where we're like, well, there's a big demand for good quality installers for exterior remodeling. So now we got, we launched it. I'm like, okay, well, we can do siding, we can do, windows. And I did them before. I knew the basics behind it. I just had to get the right people in my circle to make sure that I get the right installers, because it's not me that does it. Like I wouldn't be anything without the people that are around me and the group of people that help us succeed. The crews, the installers, the production team, the operations team, the sales team. It would be nothing without them. So I knew some really great window installers. I knew some pretty awesome, siding installers. So then that's what we started to launch with, on top of, the gutters, which is kind of goes hand in hand with roofs, gutters and siding and soffit and fascia. And then we've expanded, like you mentioned, our Forever Light section. I've been wanting to do that for a few years, and I just happened to have a conversation with Andy last year about it, and he's like, yeah, I've been wanting to do that for a while. And I said, well, let's take a look and find the best out there and partner, if we can partner with one. And then we also offer some decks from time to time. We don't really push decks, but if somebody wants something, we have enough connections now that I can help direct people to a trusted contractor to be able to do a project on the outside or even the inside of their house. But right now, we're just trying to focus on just the exterior remodeling of a complete package deal, basically.
Right. You want to be a master of those trades. You don't want to offer everything. And
yeah, like a truck in the truck. We don't want to be like, oh, I can do trim work, and then tomorrow, oh, I can do plowing, and then the next day, oh yeah, I can do a roof.
Right.
Not that they do a horrible job, because I'm sure there's great installers doing a great job, and I wish them the best. It's just, if you're only focused on certain aspects, you can be the best at that.
Right.
Versus I'm now a snowplow driver, and now I install roofs, and now I do whatever, lawn mowing,
Yeah.
right? Like whatever it might be. Like, how can you be a roofer if you're mowing lawns on your days off, like as another business? Like,
Yeah.
I like your term chuck in a truck.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before. That's hilarious.
Chuck in a truck.
We all know
Dan
that.
in a van.
Yeah,
Yep.
to him, man.
Yeah.
And usually with those, they get a taillight warranty. You know, and hopefully they come back. And most of those guys they're just trying to make a living, like I started. You know, and that's okay, and that's perfect. And I want to help those guys be the best that they can be as well. So if I have those people call, which I have, I give them advice and I help them. I say, hey, if you're willing, I can help you build some stuff. We helped another company that does curbing. We coached them for about 6 months, and their business is taking off now because of the coaching that I've given them. And it's all just, I give it away for free. Here you go. Like, I want you to be successful, because that's where I get my satisfaction from, is helping as many people as I can now.
Put good out, get good back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Kind of in our theme.
So how did you get into the solar panel part of it?
So I have to think about that. I knew that solar was up and coming about 5 years ago, but in Wisconsin, we're very against newer changes. We're conservative, which I'm okay with, but we're so conservative, they're afraid of any type of change. And for instance, I ended up offering solar 5 years ago when nobody really even thought about it around here. And I went to a convention that was put on up in Green Bay, and I sat in a room with a bunch of other contractors, and they had a solar presentation. So I'm like, well, I want to get some more information. I probably could have taught the class at the time because I knew as much as the instructor. Not trying to be arrogant or nothing, but I did my research before I got there, and I thought, well, maybe I'll get something out of it. And I had probably 5 or 6 other contractors. They were in my same age group, and they would turn to me and they're like, well, how much does it cost? How much does it cost per square? I'm like, unfortunately, solar is a completely different game plan. It's priced per kilowatt and per square and per labor. So it's not that easy. And they'd be like, well, why do you even want to offer it? I said, because it's going to be the next thing. If I can subsidize my electrical bill and I have a permanent roofing solution, now I have the best of both worlds.
Right.
I never have to worry about replacing my roof again. I get a discount on my homeowner's insurance because I have a premium product that keeps me from storm damage, and I don't have an electric bill. It just makes sense. So I wanted to be the guy that knew as much as I possibly could about solar, so when it does take off here, we're the source that people come to ask questions, and we can help as many people so they're not just fly by night, let's throw some panels up on your roof and hopefully, you know, it works, and, you know, and get some of the negativity mindset out of solar, that because where we live,
Yep.
people think it's not the greatest, but it's actually, we can produce more solar here in Wisconsin than pretty much anywhere in the whole world. Because Germany is the other the other country that actually sells as much or more solar than anybody else in the whole world right now. And they have similar climates that we do.
Sure.
So it's just re-educating the customer, and that's going to be the next big thing. Plus, I'm kind of like Chad. I like cool tech stuff. I mean, I buy stuff that I think is cool, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I like that. I think that would be a cool thing.
But here's my problem with the solar panels. They're not very attractive.
No, they're not.
We got a solution
Are
for
they-
that. So we have a solution for that. So with our permanent stone-coated steel now, our solar
That's
is
the
now
roof,
in it.
right?
It's the roof. Yep. So
Okay.
instead of shingles, it's actual steel panels that have stone-coated, so it looks like shingles. So it's a roof that's going to last you over 80 years. The panels now are integrated into the roof, so they're lower profile. So you don't have that panel sticking up and screwed into the roof. So unless you've got a very high-pitched roof where you're looking directly at it, you don't see as much of it.
Okay.
And if you're doing a black roof, they blend in even more. So you don't have the ugly aesthetic of that huge panel that now sits off 6 inches of the roof.
Well, I feel like that's a lot of people's problem with
Yeah.
it, honestly.
And the other thing that we're trying to educate customers on too is, I'm sure you've seen solar panels on a roof, right? There's 2 bad things about putting it on a standard roof. First off, the standard roof is going to die before the solar panels die. So now you have to find an electrical company that takes the solar panels off and puts them back on after you get the roof replaced.
I guess I never even thought of that, but
The
it
other,
makes total sense.
The other thing is, as soon as I do any penetrations, even though they're solar mounts that are designed for roofs, they're not liable for the penetrations. They're not liable to hit the studs or the trusses, and it voids the manufacturer warranty of an asphalt roof. So you go from these paper 50-year warranties to absolutely no warranty, or even our warranty where we've got a 15 and 20-year 100% coverage warranty on our asphalt roof. As soon as I put solar panels on top of it, I throw that warranty out. So having a product that integrates the roof with the solar and gives you the warranty forever, it's a 50-year warranty across the board. The solar part's 30 years, and then the roofing part's 50 years.
How long do solar panels usually last?
So nowadays, solar is one of those things where it's ever evolving. So we can have the same conversation next year and it's going to be changing, right?
Okay.
10, 15 years ago, the average is about 20 years.
Okay.
Now, 30 to 40 is the typical with the technology that they've come. And then, like I said, 5 years from now, they're coming out with technology that's just going to keep them going up, right?
Okay.
And what happens is the solar starts producing so much power, and then after, say 20 years, it loses a couple percentages. It still will produce, it just won't be as effective. So if it's 100% now, 20 years you might get 75% production. And the cool thing about our solar product is we can actually, if the panels start to go, like after 20, 30 years, we can pull that panel off, just that one, and put a new one in its place. And it just keeps moving on like it normally does. And they're plug and play. And then we have a battery pack system that we mount either outside or in the basement. And then we have an inverter system that can get you completely off the grid. So if you have power outages or you just don't want an electric bill anymore and you want to save as much money, you can do it.
Awesome. That would be nice.
That is cool. So I hear you talking about solar, and it is cool technology. It's stuff I like. But then I also live in a city that is typically known for being difficult with permitting.
Yeah.
How do you guys handle working around, permitting, not necessarily just for solar, but in general?
Sure.
And how do you deal with some of those municipalities that maybe are a little more difficult?
So some, I like how you said that, because some are really difficult to work with and other ones are pretty simple. Some cities, like for instance Kaukauna, there's really nothing to do permit wise. Like you can just pretty much, it's wild, wild west. Oshkosh, on the other hand,
I wasn't going to name names.
You and I know, though. You and I know.
We all know.
They know. It's a little bit more difficult to work in Oshkosh because they charge you a percentage plus they also of the whole project for your permit, which I'm fine with. But then they also have to get it approved before, like if you wanted windows replaced, let's say, you have to prove that that window will work exactly the way the old window was before you can actually install that window for that customer. So the city has to sign off on it, which is harder to work around. It's not impossible. So what we do is one of our core values, and our number one core values, is relationship building. So our goal is to go and talk to these people, and if we have to show them the products or get them involved, we go and talk to those people and show them the benefits and features of why this product is better and why it should be used on this particular property. We had to do that down in Fond du Lac when we were working on an old diocese church. We, for some reason, thought that it's under historical regulations. Yep. And they had the project done partially a couple years ago, and we thought we just were grandfathered into the historical grants or the permits. And they actually said, no, we have to get it reapproved, even though we were installing the exact same product, same color and everything that they already had approved. And I had to go and meet the historian or whatever, whatever her title was. Right. And she was awesome to work with. And I just showed her the panel, and we walked around the church, and I said, this is, it's the same stuff, and let's make sure we're taking care of this church. And then once we got on the same page, she was like, oh yeah, I'll just call the office and have them issue the permit.
Okay.
When you build a relationship, people want to help you. It's when you're not nice to people is when they try to put up those walls. Yep. And if you're just nice and you just ask questions, what's the worst that can happen? They can say no.
Yeah.
So it's not as difficult as you think. At least for us, it hasn't been.
Okay.
And for instance, like certain municipalities will say, like you can only put this product on, right? Or you can't put that, like metal roofs, for instance, right? They're like, we can't do metal roofs in this condo association. Well, that's a standing seam roof or a barn style looking roof, right? Yep. And they're, in my opinion, they're ugly, and they they're dangerous because snow can slide off of them pretty fast and can land on people. You got a lot of weight there. So we have a product that looks like shingles, but it's metal.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't even be able to tell unless the roof is getting put on. So once we actually show that product to the like HOA or the condo association, and they actually see it and get in their hands, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, we can put this on, and then we never have to worry about the roof."
You just showed that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I always think like people always do like bright blue or bright green or whatever, and I hate that look for a house, so I would have never done that.
And they change color; they fade,
Yeah.
like siding.
Yes.
Or they peel off.
But the picture that you showed me, you couldn't even tell that it was metal.
No,
it
it
looked
looks like shingles,
Yep.
looks like asphalt.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I have it on my house and I have it on my cabin. I mean, our happiest customers are our Decora stone coated metal roof customers. The product's been out for 65 years now, and I'm gonna tell you, like, every time I've ever showed it to a customer, they're always like, "Well, that must be new, huh?" I'm like, "No, it's been around for 65 years." And they're like, "Wow, that's crazy. I've never seen that before." Because everybody thinks when they think metal roofing, they think of the barn style roof.
Yeah.
So, on that, why has the industry failed to let the customer know about this type of product? It seems like it's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah.
Is there just more money and I can put up 25 more asphalt roofs and, you know?
I would say it's a combination of it is more expensive than your asphalt, right? And if people aren't planning on putting that kind of money into their home, it can be a shock. The other thing too is, and I'm sure you guys know, obviously being in the realty side of it, people were moving at a shorter and shorter time span. The thing is like 5 to 7 years or whatever it was, right? So if you're only going to be in your home 5 to 7 years, it may not make sense.
Sure.
But now if you're going to be in your home, your forever home, if you're getting a little bit older and you plan on keeping that home in the family, and you want to make sure that they never have to worry about another roof again, it makes sense. And a lot of times too, I would say the manufacturer themselves around this area probably hasn't done themselves justice with getting it out there and letting people know that this is an option. So that's what we're trying to do now, and just making sure that people know that it's an option. And a lot of times, if you can just present it to a customer and show that, one, it's an option, it's a great option, it's going to fit all their needs, and we can make it affordable, that's when it makes sense. But people automatically assume that either A, it looks like the barn style and they don't want anything to do with it, or B, it's going to be 5 times the price of what I can get an asphalt roof for, right? And so we don't even want to entertain it.
Sure. And from the pictures you showed me, it does almost look like a luxury product.
It is. It's our permanent style. So it is a more luxury product, and it's not for everybody. But, if you plan on, you had mentioned before, right? Buying a home, that's probably most people's biggest purchase of their lifetime. So why would you not want to protect it as best you can and for as long as you can?
Let me ask you one thing though. I always have it in my mind that when it rains or something, it's going to be super loud.
Absolutely. And on your barn style roofs, it will. This with the stones, it dampens that sound. You don't hear the rain.
Okay.
The other thing too is the way it's installed is, it can be installed 2 different ways. It can be installed directly to the deck, like your asphalt shingles, or on some of the products it can be put on batten systems. But either way, there's a nice little air gap. And it's going to help with ventilation and everything like that too, but that air gap too is also now sound dampening.
Okay.
So you do not hear it like you would on just a tin roof, right? It's most people will not notice any difference.
And that tin roof rusted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and here's the thing.
B52.
Absolutely. So, and that's the nice thing with the metal roofs too, is now they are all ceramic coated too, so they don't rust out.
Okay.
So
Good. Excellent. I love it.
So how has the industry shifted from, I know that this is just changing every day, but from when you started, how has it shifted and how are you guys leading the way?
Biggest shift is cost. I mean, that's gone through the roof. But what I've
pun
Literally.
intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. But what I've seen in just my lifetime, and even in my short period of time doing this projects and stuff like this, is the quality that goes into an asphalt roof is getting less and less. They're finding cheaper ways to make the same product. You guys can probably, attest to like a TV, a refrigerator, an appliance. It's to the point where you keep it and then in 5-10 years you throw it away.
They don't
right?
make them like they used to.
Right, you've heard that adage. It's the same concept. So when oil prices started to go up, the shingle manufacturers started to subsidize the oil that's in a shingle. So you've probably seen old barns with these really thick shingles on the roofs. And when you were kids, you probably never saw a lot of, and probably didn't even pay attention, but young adults even, roofing getting done all over the place. It was like, I got a roof done and it lasted 40 years. That was because the shingle had like 80% asphalt in the shingle itself. Well, I take all that out and I start putting fillers in there, and 99% of the fillers that are out there are sand-based. So now I put sand in this oil mixture, which mixes really well. Yeah. But now I put sand on your roof and only have 18% asphalt left in the shingle. And there's a company called Applied Roofing Technologies, and they actually do third-party testing on shingles. And you can send them a sample of a shingle that's failed, and if it has 30% asphalt or less by weight, it is considered failed and it does not work anymore. Old shingles used to have 80% asphalt by weight. Now, brand new shingles that you would buy at like a Menards, a Home Depot, big box store, any of that stuff, have as low as 18% asphalt by weight.
Wow.
So even our asphalt brand, which is Atlas, they make a separate brand called Castlebrook, which is sold at the big box stores. It says Atlas Castlebrook. They use higher fillers in that shingle to get to a price point to make it a cheaper shingle.
Okay.
But now if I put 70 to 80% of your roof is filled with sand, what happens to sand after a while? And it starts to wash away.
Yep.
And it just takes all the asphalt out of your shingles. And we're seeing shingles last between 8 to 12 years now, and we're replacing them all the time because of cracks, blistering, which the manufacturer says, well, that's completely normal. Because when you're on your roof, you can see them, but when you're mowing your lawn, you really can't see them. So just they don't exist.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. And I didn't want to get involved in that rat race, so it's really educating the customer on the better products that are out there and doing a permanent solution for customers, because I would rather do a roof once and then the whole neighborhood's so happy with that roof that they all call for a permanent solution versus I'm going to replace this roof with the mindset of 10 years from now, hopefully they call me back because I'll have repeat business.
Yep.
And that's not what we're about. I'm not a small dude. I'm 6'7", pretty big guy, and I'm loud. So you'll run into me in public somewhere. It never fails. I'll be at dinner and somebody be like, "Hey Shane," or at Walmart or at Quick Trip.
You're easy to find.
I'm very easy to find, and I'm just like everybody else. I just whatever. But I want to make sure that my name is on something. I'm there to help that customer. So if I don't give them the best product with the best price, I can't sleep at night, and I'm afraid that somebody would run into me and accuse me of screwing up their property. Like, that's your biggest prized possession. Like, that is your biggest investment that you'll probably ever have, like we talked about. And if I can protect your investment so you don't have to worry about it long term, it gives the customer a lot more peace of mind.
And when you talk to the customers about that, that's when the permanent style actually comes into play. Because, yes, it's more expensive right out of the gate. But if you're putting on a permanent style roof and it's going to last you over 80 years versus an asphalt roof, if you go cheap and you have to replace it every 10 years,
make up that cost.
You make up well above that cost, right? If your roof's $20,000 now, in 10 years it's at least 30.
Right. Looking at
10 years from there, it's at least 45. So now you've spent $95,000 in 20 years on your roof, whereas you could have spent 35 or 30 on a permanent.
And never have to touch it again.
Yeah, I mean, when you break the math out that way, it seems like a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I look at it from the standpoint, though. I look back when my wife and I purchased our house, young, scrapping just to get by. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel, and every dime we had kind of went into our house, but we didn't have a lot to put into it at the time. So I put myself back in that situation, and I think, man, that permanent solution is awesome, but I can't swing it. And I need a new roof today. I can't swing it.
For sure.
So how are you guiding me and maybe tempering my expectations? Or at least...
Absolutely. We've got other options, and that's why, so we typically have a good, better, best option. Our best is always going to be permanent, right? And then we've got a good option That's kind of, I don't want to call it average, but it's a little bit above average. But for the homeowners that do have a little bit tighter budget and they just need a roof just to get by for right now, we've got you covered still. We have an option that we can explore. That's kind of, when we go to a home, we really talk to the customer, build that relationship with the customer, and find out what best suits them. It may be permanent, it may not be permanent.
Sure.
Whatever's
also financially too.
correct.
Right?
Yep.
We try to figure out what fits into their budget, right?
Yep.
Without getting them to a point where, hey, I don't want to see you slinging lemonade out in your front yard or a for sale sign next year if I come back. Like, I want to make this affordable so you guys have that peace of mind. So what's an affordable monthly budget that works for you? And then we find a product that is best suited for you. And I get it all the time when because I don't normally go to customers' homes anymore. My role has changed now. But when I was going to the homes, every person they would always say, I've never seen anything like that. That's new. When did that come out? And then they would say, well, if I was building a house or I was younger, I would definitely buy this product. And I call them out on it in a nice way, of course.
Yep.
I'm like, no, you wouldn't. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, if, let's say you guys are married, you're not, but if you are, and I was sitting down with you guys and you were building your house, what's something that you would love in your house? Like, what's your ideal thing that you want when you're building your house?
I want a huge fireplace.
A huge fireplace, okay? And what do you want?
A urinal.
A urinal, okay. Most guys say like a 3-car
Right, yeah.
garage, right? Just a urinal. But hey, it's Chad, so that's cool. I love it. And most wives say I want granite countertops or something. So there's a per square foot price on a house when you build it. Being real estate agents, you know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a return on your investment if it's $200 a square foot to build a house, and you have to spread that over the whole house. You're not going to put it all into a roof, because now I'm going to tell you can't have your urinal and you can't have your big fireplace. You can have a gas little bitty one in the corner, but that's not what you want.
I can get a solo stove.
Right, you can get a solo stove for the countertop. Those really small ones that sit right here.
There you go.
And then somebody that says, well, if when I was younger, I stayed in my house for a long time, I would pay to remodel it. No, you won't, because just like you said, you have, kids and life and your new cars. And a lot of times we have people put like, well, I need to buy a new car. Well, you don't need to buy a new car. Your house is probably more important than your car. Car is a depreciation asset. Your house isn't appreciation, right?
Let's look what's happened in the last 5 years in the real estate market.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so the typical customer that buys our stone-coated metal roof permanent solution are usually a little bit older. A lot of people that are close to retirement buy our roofs. And why is that? It's because they have established disposable income. And what's one thing that doesn't change when they retire?
They don't want to go on their roof either way.
Either way.
Yeah.
So when you retire, what's one thing you can't do more of?
I don't know.
You can't make more money.
That's true.
So what's one thing that keeps raising in price?
Everything.
The cost of everything.
Everything, including house replacement.
Sure.
So if you're 60 years old and you're going to retire when you're 65, and you put on an asphalt roof, and in 15 years, 10 years, you have to replace it again, and then in 10 more years, now you're 75, 80 years old, and you got to replace it again. Do you have that money at that time? Now you're on a real fixed income, right?
Income, yep.
But if you have a permanent solution, and then you can hand it down to your family as a generational warranty, so it's 50 years no matter who owns the home if it's in your family, it makes more sense.
Right.
And the other thing is, people in that age bracket have seen what we call the evolution of roofing. They have lived through, hey, I had a hot point freezer and it lasted me 60 years, like my grandparents did, right? Or the old console TV, you just pound the top of it and the color came back on, that kind of thing. Right?
45-year-old water heater that you see, and now they're
Do
5.
that
the
to your
first
65-inch
Nintendo.
flat screen TV, punch the top of it and see what happens.
Yeah.
The whole thing is going to shoot out on you, right? And you're not going to be able to use it anymore. So the mindset's a little bit different, and they understand the value behind buying something that they never have to worry about, because they're not on a fixed income yet, but they're going to be. So they're planning. We all plan. We have our retirement plans. We have our future plans. So we try to set it up so it helps everybody. So that's kind of like our 40 and higher range is usually when they start looking at the metal permanent solution roofs.
Okay, that totally makes sense. I mean, let's get that expense out, and while we can control our income.
Yeah,
Right.
while we have the money, go ahead and do it.
Yep.
What
So you
we're
don't have to worry
what we're
about it
seeing
later.
is about 10 years is the average return on your investment. So at about 10 years, you start up here with the metal roof, you're down here with an asphalt roof, and then after 10 years, the curve starts to happen.
Sure.
So now you're not buying another roof, right, at that 10-year range,
Yep.
10 to 15-year range, and then this is the same roof, same cost, so it's you're adding more money, and then if you go to sell your house, you don't have to worry about calling a roofing company to do an inspection on your house. And the home inspectors aren't out there saying, well, your roof is bad. You only got the typical 5 years left on your house. I mean, I'm
Yep.
sure you've never heard that before.
Oh my
right?
gosh, it's like
Constantly.
Every home inspector,
yeah.
it's 5 years. You got 5 years? They can't tell you that it's 5 years.
So what happens if we get a really bad hailstorm? Does it get all dented up then? And then what do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
it,
ahead.
it can, but it's rated class 4 for hail, which essentially is how they test for that is a 2.5-inch steel ball that they blast at the shingle at 80 miles an hour. That's how they test all roofing, whether it's asphalt, metal, whatever.
I feel like that's normal wind these days.
Well, it is normal winds, yeah, but
like
typically
every
your
day.
hail's not falling that
But
fast.
two
usually.
2.5-inch hail?
Yeah.
That's big. That's a baseball.
So-
shooting baseballs
okay,
at your
fair.
house.
Yep. So, and with the metal roof now, even if you had little dents here and there, especially with the stones, you don't see it like you would on a barn style roof. If you look at a barn style roof that got hit with hail, you see little dimples.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And with the stone coated, you don't see that as much. So even if you have a little dent here or there, typically you're not going to see it. As long as it's not blowing through the metal, the integrity is still there. So
Okay.
your roof is still good. Now with asphalt, typically when you have hail damage, it's because it actually broke the fiberglass backing, and now that can be a leak point, right? Because water can actually get in behind there. Again, with anything, with hail or anything with the storms that we've been getting more frequently, if you had softball size hail coming in at 90 miles an hour, it doesn't matter what you have. You're going through insurance because something's getting damaged, right? So
Yep.
you're going through insurance to replace your metal roof even. So, but it does withstand a lot bigger hail and more damage than your typical asphalt would.
Okay.
Typically around 3.5 to 4-inch hail of solid hail before it actually breaks the substrate of that metal product before it cracks it.
So it's like something super major
Pretty,
coming at
pretty.
you.
Yeah.
And
biblical.
your house probably won't be standing anyway after
Well, so
what's going on there.
we have documented evidence of, like, in Tornado Alley down in Oklahoma and stuff like that. We've got pictures of just destroyed houses. Like, there's no houses left. All you see is debris, and you see a Decker house standing. The roof itself, because the tornado went through, didn't get ripped off. The hail hit it. Yes, everything in the house stayed protected. Now the house had to get condemned anyways, but at least the
Yeah.
structure stayed there because the vortex of the roof didn't come off and suck everything out, and the walls flew apart.
Right.
It makes it for a more solid, safer structure. It's
Okay.
also burn proof, so they saw a lot in like California when those wildfires
Oh,
went
Yeah.
through.
Yep.
Like the houses, they don't jump and fly up the side of the house. They actually land on oil and then they burn from the top down.
Yep.
And if I can prevent that from like a firework landing on your roof or
Right.
a
Yeah.
bonfire in your backyard, start a house
Yeah,
on fire.
that always terrifies me in the
Yeah,
summer.
you never know. So the product is an amazing product to not have to worry about your roof. Now, I'm glad you asked about insurance because insurance companies are changing their policies left and right now.
Yep.
Most of the big companies out there have changed to what's called an ACV policy after 10 years. So if you have your roof for at least 10 years, they switch to ACV policy. So most people can understand it from like a car insurance aspect. If you're driving around in a 2010 car and you total it out, the insurance company is going to give you what it's worth at that time, so you can buy another 2010 equivalent car, right?
Right.
Well, you can't buy an equivalent used roof.
Right.
So they used to give you what's called recoverable cash value, an RCV policy. So they give you an upfront cost, and then when you get the roof professionally done, the insurance company will subsidize the remainder of it, so you don't have to pay anything but your deductible and upgrades, of course. Now the insurance companies have switched it that after 10 years, your policy automatically switches to what the roof is worth at that time. So in Andy's example, if the roof is $20,000 and they give you $10,000 today, they take your deductible of, let's say, $1,000, they give you $9,000, but you still are going to find a roofer to do it for 20. So you got to come up with 11 out of your own pocket
Yeah.
when you weren't expecting that.
Yeah.
And then the insurance companies have changed recently. We just did one for one of my friends, a stone-coated metal roof, and we know that a Class 4 rated asphalt or metal roof will give a customer usually a discount on their homeowner's insurance, because now the insurance company isn't going to be as liable for that product, right?
Yeah.
So they usually give up to a 15% discount. Well, the company that she works with or was insured with found out she had a new roof when we called and told them, hey, we got this new product, she should get a discount. Yeah, but now it's considered a premium product, so they raised her rates by 25% to give her the 15% discount. It's just a shady practice that I don't like. So if we can eliminate any of those headaches, and when we had that last storm come through, we're not storm chasers by any means. We're 100% retail. Unless a storm comes through, we know how to help people like that. But the insurance tactics that we saw, including the storm chasers that came, and the tactics that we saw were just icky in my mind. And that's not how we do business. We want to take care of our customers so they have peace of mind in the long term. So then they refer us more business because they're so happy with what we did.
Have either of you guys gotten the insurance letter yet?
No.
So I got mine from American Family, and again, saying roof is over 15 years old, so you're losing your hail coverage, wind damage coverage. It's now on an ACV only % policy. The other thing too, that, and this is all part of us educating the customer too when we go out and show them these things, is talking about the insurance as well, because a lot of insurance companies now are not they're going away from like the $500, $1,000 deductible. Now they're percent policies. So it may be a 1 or 2% deductible, but that's off the value of your home. So if you have a $300,000 home and you have a 2% policy, your deductible is $6,000. So now same scenario where if your roof, and now you have to, you're only going to give you half, now take off $6,000 for your deductible, and they owe even more.
And a lot of them are going to the percentage of your value of the property. Not just the house.
Yep.
So let's say you have a pole barn and you have a house and you have a shed.
Hardly seems fair.
So this is
15 acres and your property is worth $1.2 million.
so this message is for my husband. It's not a good idea to add a pole barn.
No, not for insurance purposes.
For insurance purposes. But then
And
what they do is they say your value of your property is $1.2 million. Your percentage is 2% of $1.2 million, not of your little mobile home that you have on the front of the property.
That's so stupid though, because like there's so much of the property that might not get damaged whatsoever.
Doesn't matter.
And sometimes they include land with that too. But the land will always be there even if everything gets burnt down.
Doesn't matter. Yep. And that's, insurance companies have gotten smart in the sense of, as we were talking about with the evolution of roofing, right? They know how shingles are being made now. They know that the oil content is so much lower and that fillers are being used. And that's a big reason why they're doing it. Even though per the insurance company, you may have gotten a 30-year, but the insurance company labels it as a 30-year shingle. They know it's not going to last 30 years.
Sure.
Because of the fillers and the oil content and how cheap that they're making everything. So they're protecting their own, right? But unfortunately, it's the homeowner that typically gets burned in the end. And if they don't know it, it comes as a huge shock when we come and let's say they had hail damage and we read through their policy and we read through the loss report that the insurance company gave them, and we go, you have an ACV only policy and you are only getting $4,000 for the whole roof.
That's
Now,
a rude awakening.
I want to make it clear though, I don't want to bash on insurance companies because it's not the insurance agent. So
Right.
if you, and I don't know who you have for insurance, and we don't need to say their names or anything like that, but I have a great insurance agent, and I have a couple of great insurance agents that go to my church. Great guys. They work underneath the big entity, right? So when customers have issues, they don't look at it as American Family, State Farm, Progressive, West Bend, or any of the other companies out there. They look at Shane Rosenow Insurance.
Yep.
Shane, you're my agent. Why didn't you cover my roof? I had no choice of it. So going back to our core values, our number one is relationship building. What we did is we went around and made relationships with insurance agents.
Right.
And we have that personal relationship with these agents. So if a customer that we come across that works with that agency, we know we can work with that agent to get that customer taken care of behind the scenes better than what their underwriters are doing. Because the insurance companies are held accountable to the big underwriting thing. So
Yep.
like if you get in a bunch of accidents, your rates go up no matter where you go. That's on your record on here in
Your
the
permanent file.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just because State Farm said it, then American Family's not. No, they're going to see it.
Yep.
Right? West Bend's going to see it. That's all in the underwriters, the big bubble. So those are the guys that are doing all these policies and procedures, and they lose their money in certain states, like in Colorado where they get hit with hail every other day, or Florida where they get hit with the hurricanes, or California, which is like a completely different country because they have so many different rules over
Yep.
there. But they have so many disasters that they have to recoup their money somewhere else. So we in the Midwest are very fortunate. We don't get a lot of this. Like we don't have to walk outside with my mom and worry about scorpions. You know, we don't have to worry about tarantulas. Like we're very blessed that we don't have a lot of things that can kill us on our way to our car, right? So and natural disasters, we really don't have a lot of that stuff other than the cold and some wind once in a while and some rain. But they have to make up their rates
Somewhere.
for another way.
Right.
And we run into customers who are like, well, I don't want to file a claim because my rates will go up. That's not the case. If enough people, like back in the day, a few years ago, Kaukauna got hit like 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
Everybody in that area became high risk, and everybody's rates went up a little bit in that area to recuperate the loss that they had in those areas.
So you might as well have filed.
Might as well file,
Yeah.
exactly.
If you have damage, file.
If it was going to go up anyways. I mean,
Exactly.
Yep.
it didn't make a difference.
So one of our good friends is an insurance agent. And we just had him on our podcast. He was our very first guest.
Okay.
And he was very big on don't ever contact the insurance agency directly.
Contact
Always
him.
go through your
Call your
agent.
To the agent.
Talk to
Call
them
your
first.
agent.
Yeah.
Yep.
We 100% agree with that. They are going to help you out as the customer a lot more than just calling the claim number.
Well, and he said too, like sometimes it doesn't warrant a claim because
Yep.
you know it might not make a difference, but then your policy will go up so much just by
Yes.
having that stupid claim.
Yeah,
on
because
there.
if you call the claim office, they're going to open a claim regardless, and if they come out and deem it no damage, then you're not getting anything covered, but it
you
is
have a
still a
claim on
claim.
your
Yep.
file.
And we
yep.
saw plenty of people get dropped from their insurance company because they had too many claims,
Yep.
even if they didn't have anything replaced.
Right.
So yes, I would 100% agree. Call your agent first,
Yep.
and
Your
go through them.
agent's going to be your biggest advocate. So we ran into that during the storms. The underwriters sent a whole bunch of people from out of the state, and they were denying obvious storm damage stuff. And I'm on Facebook a lot, so I was in a lot of these groups, and they were like, people were commenting, Chad's not covering my roof.
Right.
Patty's not covering my roof. Andy's not covering my roof. And I went to the agents and I would like go to Chad. I'm like, hey Chad, I just want you to know, like, there's a lot of your customers on social media that are upset with you because they think you're not covering it, and it's really your
Right. It's
your
your
what-
Geico or your
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
whoever it is, right? And once I had that conversation and I showed pictures of some of this stuff, I was able to have that agent call to corporate, and they pushed all their agents for that particular insurance company. They pulled those guys out and brought in different guys and got all of them approved
Wow.
because they were trying to save as much money as possible, and they figure, well, most customers aren't going to fight. And I trust my insurance agent. He's a great guy, and he is, but he has
Nothing to do with that.
nothing to
Right.
do with that. He can advocate for you, but ultimately, you want a construction guy like us out there with the agent that they're sending, so we can both come to an agreed, this is what's going on with it, and be fair about it, and not, I'm better than you or any of that stuff. Let's have a relationship about this, and let's come to an agreed, hey, this needs to be done. Because there's bad people on both sides, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
No matter what.
All-
In any
Always.
industry.
In any
Yeah.
industry, yep.
So, how does a job where insurance is involved, as compared to the customer who's proactive and just wants my roof replaced, how does the insurance company dynamic change the job?
Drastically.
Yeah. Yep. So typically, if we're going out and you just call me because you need a roof, we come out, show your options, come to an agreement, we put the roof on, great, right? Let's say storm comes through, you call us out to check the roof, you've got storm damage, we say, yep, file a claim, you call your agent or your insurance company, whatever, you file a claim, Now we come back out when that adjuster comes to take a look. Like Shane said, try to come to an agreement on at least, yes, we agree that there's storm damage here, wherever. They are going to then get what they call a loss report, so what they are actually covering. And then from there, we work with the customer to say, okay, this is what they're covering, whether it's an amount or certain slopes, because not every storm damages the whole roof. Sometimes it only damages, a few.
Okay.
And then go through your options from there, right? Whether or not, do you want to replace the full roof? Do you want to only replace the slopes that are covered? This is how much you're getting. Do you want any upgrades? So it's just a longer, drawn-out process. And depending on the insurance company too, we actually have a product consultant that's still working on one from October. And the insurance companies are hard to get a hold of. They don't call you back all the time, and it's frustrating because you're trying to help the homeowner out and you're kind of at the mercy of some of the insurance companies sometimes.
Okay.
So we do an inspection and we know like XYZ thing needs to be replaced, but the insurance company doesn't think, they're not roofers, and they think, well, that doesn't need to be replaced because that wasn't really damaged, but it gets damaged when we replace the roof.
Oh, sure.
So then we have to do what's called a supplement. So we have to submit a bill with proof of why we had to do it. They have to approve it, and then they have to send the money to the homeowner. And now, because of homeowners taking advantage of insurance companies, and unfortunately, like when you go to a grocery store or a convenience store, a lot of times they used to put pictures of people, don't take this person's check.
Sure.
You see my mug and be like, don't take his check, he's a bad check writer.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay? They ruin it for the rest of us. So
I used to love that, though.
yeah, right. Oh, I know that guy. No.
Yeah.
So what the insurance company has done to protect themselves is typically you don't technically own your home, do you?
Right. The bank does.
The bank owns the home until you pay that last mortgage payment, right? It's not your home.
I own the bathroom.
You barely own the
That's about
bathroom.
it.
You might own the water.
He owns the urinal.
That's my urinal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Down the urinal, right? So what the insurance companies does, and it makes it harder for contractors, is they'll take that insurance check and write the customer's name on it and the mortgage holder. Then what we have to do is we have to send a certified letter with our contract to the mortgage lien holder, which is usually not local. It's usually in a different state.
Yeah.
Then we have to prepay for an envelope for them to send it back to the customer. They have to cash the check, they have to reimburse it, then they have to send it back to the customer, and then we can get paid.
Yep.
It's a long, drawn-out process, and that's if we can get the insurance company to approve all of it.
Wow.
And the other misconception is insurance will give you a dollar amount, and then what happens is the customer's like, oh, that's what I get. Okay, cool. And they don't realize it's a negotiation. It's there like you're playing a game, and you set down, is $10,000 good enough for you?
Yep.
But they don't ask it that way. They're like, you get $10,000. And you're like,
Oh,
oh, great.
great.
And then you go and start researching. You're like, oh, crap, this is 18. I can't find anybody like to do it right for 18. So that's why we get involved and we work and negotiate with the insurance company and say, this is what it actually costs to do this. And this is why it costs to do this. And the insurance company has it written that they're supposed to get you back to pre-loss condition. What does that look like? How does that cost? And we're there to fight for be the advocate to make sure it's back to where it's supposed to be.
So you're the one dealing with the insurance company. Me as the client, I'm not on the phone negotiating that.
Well,
Sometimes, because the homeowner has the most pull in because you're employing
paying your
the
premiums.
insurance, right?
Yep.
It's like with a customer buying a home, they're your boss,
Right.
So if they don't like the home, it's on you, right?
Right.
You got to find them the right product that fits
That's
their
why
needs.
I try to talk everybody out of their house.
Exactly, right? Yeah,
You don't want that one.
you don't like being bossed around.
No, we certainly
it.
try to, get all that, but there are some times where I may go, Chad, look, I'm not getting anywhere with them. Would you be willing to give them a call and see if you can give them a little push? And because you do have more pull with them. We talk to them, and I've had adjusters when we had the storms, 3-4 years ago, basically hang up on me and say, we're not doing anything else. And I'd call the homeowner and say, this is what they told me. Homeowner calls them, has a 5-minute conversation.
Oh, sure.
Everything's approved now.
Weird.
So
Okay.
So no doesn't necessarily mean no.
Not always.
In insurance.
Not always,
in roofs.
Right.
Okay.
But we don't deal with it a lot in this area. We don't get a lot of damage. Like the hail that we got just a couple days ago wasn't. Everybody's like, "Oh, the phones are going to ring." It was too small. It's not really. There wasn't really any damage. It was very, very marginal, and it's really hard for you to not to try to fight the insurance companies, because that's not what we're here to do.
Right.
We're here to do it fairly and make sure that you definitely need a replacement because of this. If you don't, we're going to be the first to tell you don't need to replace it as well.
Okay. So we've talked about insurance and we've talked about some of these luxury roof options. I also want to talk about DIY a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
You love it, right?
Oh,
love DIY.
yeah.
So I just,
How much time do we have?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
I'm probably gonna kind of age myself a little here, but I remember growing up, back in the day, it was not a big thing to have people over with a couple 12 packs and
Beer and pizza
buddies.
Yep.
There was one guy who knew how to do it, and you just had a bunch of grunts, and you just did it.
Or he said he knew how to do it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
At least- well, they thought they knew.
Johnny, he knows how to do
Yep.
it. Let's get him over here.
Someone knows a guy,
Yeah.
So what's a good story you can give me about a DIY job you came in and you kind of had to save the day a little bit?
So
And how do you handle that?
I've got
Yeah,
one.
I'm gonna let you talk about it. It's been
I've
a
got
while,
one,
so-
and it was a recent roof that we did, and whoever ended up doing it, they didn't use all the materials they're supposed to use. So on your triangle parts of the roof, right? We call that a gable end. Anywhere there's not a gutter, not the eave, but it's the rake edge, you typically have drip edge there. So as water flows down, it's not getting underneath the shingles, and it's kind of kicking out and away from the roof, right? They put no drip edge on it whatsoever.
Oh.
So you could see the wood. You
Oh
could
my-
see where that water was coming underneath the shingles and getting to the wood. And they had this roof on for a long time, so there's
Oh,
plenty
no.
of rot and that kind of stuff. So not knowing, roofing really is a system. People think it's just, you lay down some tar paper and put on some shingles and we're good.
Yep.
You need drip edge, gutter apron, the right underlayment, depending on if you have valleys or not, what you're going to do there, along a roof where the roof meets a wall, there's wall flashings. So there's a ton of different things that go into it that most people that do DIY don't understand fully. And not to blame them, they don't do it every day,
Sure.
right? What we kind of do to kind of let people know, especially if you're thinking about DIY, is I guess we'll ask you, Chad, where do you get your materials if you're going to do it all here?
Well, I definitely got my materials at Menards.
Exactly.
And I know it's full of filler.
It's full of filler, yeah. But that's where most people are, right? You have Menards, Lowe's, Home Depot. So if you had a problem with that roof, then down the line, are you going to go back to Menards and say, hey, my roof's leaking?
No.
No?
Or my
Right.
shingles failed.
Or my shingles failed?
No.
Why not?
Because I know that Menards isn't going to do anything
Correct,
about it.
right? So DIY is people think, I can save a lot of money doing DIY. You absolutely can up front. But if something goes wrong, you oftentimes pay more in the end, because now not only do you have to redo the roof, but you also probably have internal damage if you got leaking.
Yep.
So you have to drywall, everything else,
And that
insulation.
other scary word that we don't like in the industry that starts with an M.
Yep,
The
organic
black-
growth, as
the-
I like to call it,
Yes.
because I
black
can't legally
specks.
say it's mold, but
Yeah.
yes,
The
organic
black
growth.
powder,
the black,
like
yes.
material.
Yep. So even safety wise, right? Because
Right.
if something like that happens, now you have health and safety concerns. So we do get a lot of people that just say, well, my brother could do it. My brother could do it for $5,000. Okay. He
Yep.
probably could, but is he doing it correctly? Does he know exactly what he's doing? Is he using the right materials? Is he getting all the right materials? Is he being safe doing it? What if your brother does it and he falls off the roof?
Who's
Now
responsible
who's
for that?
responsible?
Yeah.
You are. Your homeowner's insurance.
Yep.
Right? So is he tying in? Is he doing it safe? Is he?
Did
and
he
if-
finish the case of beer?
Yeah,
they
right?
brought?
Did he exactly right?
Right, before he fell off the
Before
roof.
or after he did the
Right.
rough? Exactly right.
Yep.
So, yeah, he could do it cheaper, but oftentimes it costs you a lot more in the end.
And I think to your point earlier about the shingle content at your big box stores, the DIYer is already set up at a disadvantage.
Yes.
They're starting with a subpar product
Yep.
compared to what a contractor has.
Well, even contractors buy supplies at Menards,
Menards.
right? There's a desk in the back, right?
That's
at
true.
all of those places, there's a contractor's desk.
You're right.
So I could go to Menards and buy my shingles,
You could.
But you don't.
but
Thank
what's
you.
going to be happen?
Yep.
What can happen?
Right.
It's because the asphalt content is so low in them. And again, who's going to replace that roof
Right.
when it goes bad?
So when I grab, you said it was an Atlas. What was the
Castlebrook.
Okay, that's the Menards product.
Yep.
So there's Atlas makes a Menards product called Castlebrook.
Okay.
And then they also sell Pinnacle and Stormmaster. We sell Stormmaster and Pinnacle. Stormmaster is a higher grade asphalt shingle. It has Core 4 technology, so it lasts longer and it is more penetrable for hail damage and things like that. And then our Pinnacle line is a standard, what most people would consider a basic roof package
Okay.
for the lowest cost that you can get, and still give you that bulletproof warranty. But because we install it the way the manufacturer wants us, and we install all 5 of the products for them, even Atlas says we can sell a 50-year warranty for our customers. And I said, so that's magically going to make our shingles last 50 years now? And they're like, well, no. I'm like, why am I going to sell you a 50-year warranty and sell you a piece of paper that we know isn't going to cover?
Right.
So on our Pinnacle line, we give a 15-year parts, labor, material, dumpster warranty, 100%. On our Stormmaster, we do 20 years.
Okay.
So that's if anything goes wrong, if anything, streaking happens on the roof shingles don't look the same way for the next 15 or 20 years, you call us up, we'll come out, we'll do an inspection. If it is the product that's failed or our install that's failed, we'll go ahead and replace that roof or repair it for free for you.
So with the streaking, that doesn't always mean that the roof is bad, though, right?
It's starting to.
It's starting to.
So
okay.
the streaking is actually blue algae. So it looks black, but it's blue
Yeah.
algae. And that actually goes airborne. So it actually will jump roof to roof. So even if your roof is not the reason why you got it, it could be because of the neighbors, right?
Oh, no.
And what that algae
My
does,
neighborhood.
so it usually starts in one neighbor and then it goes all throughout the neighborhood.
Oh, no.
Really?
It not only does it make your roof look bad, but it actually will hold on to moisture more. So now you have more moisture just sitting on your roof. And that algae is actually feeding
a
the
living
asphalt
organism.
contact. Yep. So it will eventually eat through the roof.
And it starts because the stones start to come off the roof as
Yep.
well. And then there's organic material in your shingle product, and it allows it to grab onto that, including the pollens that are in the air that land on your roof.
Yep.
And it starts to grow and bacteria fed. It's
So
like
then the whole
infection.
neighborhood should pitch in and get that guy a new roof?
It
Should.
should.
But
So
it's already
that's interest.
it's already
It's
airborne,
already on,
and
yep.
it's going to be on the
gonna
rest
keep
of
going.
them, so they might as well just all get
So
on.
the great thing with Atlas is both our Pinnacle and our Stormmaster actually has Scotchgard in it. And Scotchgard is actually going to help prevent that from even growing on there.
That's cool.
So it's got the Scotchgard actually is a better mix of copper granules in there. It's actually got copper in the granules, and that actually prevents that algae from growing. So homes that have either the Pinnacle or the Stormmaster, your whole neighborhood could have those black streaks, and all of a sudden you'll see one home where it skips over, doesn't have the black streaks. That's
Scotchgard.
You know, I'm going to start noticing that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
I'll
Now that
just-
we're talking roofs, every time you
Start-
drive
I'm
by, you
gonna-
just do this.
You'll notice it
I always do
you'll notice it when you watch
anyway.
TV.
Yeah.
Let's
Right.
just be honest.
Since I became a real estate
You
agent,
just look
at
houses.
Yeah,
Yep.
you look at roofs.
Oh yeah.
So if
And I hate
hold,
it.
Yep.
if I hold your Atlas product and I grab the Menards equivalent, am I gonna feel a weight difference?
Not typically.
No.
If you go Pinnacle and Pinnacle, no, they're the
Okay.
exact same. The Castlebrook now is going to be a little bit cheaper, right? Castlebrook is made specifically for Menards. That's the
Yep.
only place you can get it. You can get Pinnacle at Menards. You can get it at Home Depot. You can get it at ABC Supplies, is
Sure.
where we typically get all of our supplies from. So that's made the same. But the Castlebrook is made to be more of your DIY.
Sure.
But that's where people are going to gravitate typically towards because it's cheaper, right? So, and if they don't do the research, they don't know why it's cheaper. So Castlebrook does not have Scotchgard. It's got more fillers, right? So
And you can buy Pinnacle and Stormmaster from a Menards. They do stock it, and it's the same product that we offer, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when a DIYer guy buys it, or even a licensed contractor goes and buys that product and installs it, they're only giving Atlas is only giving that person a 10-year material warranty. Nothing on labor, nothing on dumpster. It's 10 years for the product itself.
just the product, yep.
Oh,
So if the
Because we're
product
certified and we do it per the manufacturer specs and we use all of their products, we can give the customer a bulletproof 15 or 20-year labor, material, and dumpster non-prorated warranty. And then after that, it's prorated, but you still get a percentage of every product. So you get a percentage of the labor, the dumpster, and the material across the
Till the
board,
shingle
till
fails.
it fails. And the typical shingle for Atlas is going to be 25 or 30 year failure rate.
Okay.
Roughly what it is.
So definitely worth the, a little more upfront cost for that peace of mind of a 15 or 20 year non-prorated warranty.
And our Pinnacle line isn't that much more. It's almost identical to everybody else. It's where people try to save money is when they do the chuck in the trucks, the DIYs, and somebody's reusing like step flashing, or they're not changing out the underlayments, or they're not putting in the right ridge vents, or they're using off-brand this or that to install it because it worked and it's worked forever. Well, that's not how the new system works, and they don't understand the roof is part of the breathing of your roof, to the way the roof sheds water, to everything in between, and how it's installed. I mean, the manufacturers have their butts covered, because if you miss even a nail in the wrong spot can void your complete warranty of your roof.
Right.
So unless you know exactly what you're doing and you can guarantee 100% without a doubt that it's not installed wrong and you didn't miss a single nail on any of your guys doing a crew job, that's why we charge a little bit more, because we put a lot more into our labor and our guys, and we invest in those guys, and we don't go for, hey, this X dollar amount, but that's why we're going to charge. No, it's we give them raises the more they learn and the more they can show that they do a better job, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I see on your guys' social media, you guys are always training, doing different,
sure.
You're on your makeshift roof in your
got our mock demo roof.
And we train our installers, we train even our operations department. I mean, they were in our trainings the whole time too, and we train our product consultants to know what the installers are going to look for. It's not just we're sending out sales guys to sell a roof and then leave and take the person's money with a contract. That's not what our ultimate goal is. Our ultimate goal is to take care of the customer and educate the customer on all of it and show them why we are the best option, so they don't have to have that worry in the future, and it gives them that peace of mind down the road.
I think I keep coming back in my brain to this non-prorated warranty you're talking to, and about and I think about how prices of everything have increased over the last 15 to 20 years.
Yep, for sure.
So say something happens and it's time to pay the piper. How much is Shane eating out of that 15-year warranty?
Yep.
Or is that all coming from the manufacturer?
It depends on what it is, right?
Yeah.
So if I sold you a roof, 10 years goes by, you call me up, Andy, I've got a leak going on. I'm going to come out, inspect it, see what's going on. If it's a actual failure of the shingle, we send that in then to the manufacturer. And a lot of times they will even ask for us to pull some shingles so that way they can look at it, test it, that sort of stuff, right? The partnership that we have with Atlas, it's rare that they'll ever say, we're not covering it.
Sure.
Right? Like Shane said before, if that does happen for some reason, if Atlas just says, no, we're not covering it.
We
Shane's
botched
covering
an install, let's
it.
say.
We're
human. We can make mistakes,
we
right?
didn't lay the shingles correctly, right? And they say that is absolutely what you guys did, not a shingle failure. Shane is going to cover it. Rosenow Customs is covering that.
Sure.
That was our mistake. That was us. We are covering it. So you're not left high and dry, or the whole blame game like he was saying before. Well, the manufacturer says it was you guys say it's the manufacturer. We're going to figure it out for our customer.
I guess do what's right for the customer. That's what I think is the right thing to do. Like, what would I want to have done?
Right.
I want to make sure that my stuff is taken care of. When I bought my house, they had plates on the walls, and a company pulled my wall out to make it flush because we had basement problems, right?
Yep.
We live in a clay area down in Neenah, and most of the basements got one of the companies come in, and redo their basement walls on the outside, and it was leaking. And the guy told me it was a lifetime warranty that sold me the house. So I called that company. They came out and looked at it and said, well, the plates that we put on are warranted, but because it made stress cracks next to the plates, that's actually not covered. So you're going to have to pay us to fix the walls. That was like...
And that happens a lot with those plates in the walls.
I'm like, what? I thought it said it was a lifetime guarantee. And that just really puts a bad taste. Like, and I get it from their perspective. They got to follow certain rules and restrictions. But that really wasn't explained, and it didn't say anything that in the warranty paperwork. I mean, maybe in the real fine print, but
Sure.
ultimately, we talk about, is it the hill that you want to die on? No, I want to help the customer. Like, do I want to be known as the jerk that didn't take care of my customer, or do I want to be known as the guy that just did what was right, took care of the customer? And I tell people all the time, like, I was raised by my grandparents mostly. If we did things by handshake and the word, and your bond is your word, right? And you're as good as your word. If I could do contracts that way, spit and handshake, I would do that. But unfortunately, I have to have contracts. I have to have certain things in regulation. But ultimately, the buck stops with me. It's my name on the business. I'm here to help. And if I can take care of a customer, whether it's out of our pocket or if the manufacturer covers it, great. We've never really had to worry about it. I had to take care of a customer that it didn't matter. I wanted to make sure they were taken care of, so I just paid for it. It is what it is. I mean, it's just the right thing to do.
And
Cost of doing business.
Yeah, and a lot of ours, if not most of our business is referrals. So in your situation, are you going to refer that company?
No,
probably not.
Not at all.
Whereas if you call me up 10 years later, and it doesn't matter why it's leaking, but we fix it, are you going to be happy that we came out and stuck to our word and fixed it and refer us?
Right.
Most likely.
Well,
Right.
and word of mouth is the best advertising too.
100%.
Exactly.
100%. And like you said, mistakes happen, whether
Right.
it's
Yep.
human error,
But it's how you
manufacturing error.
respond to those
Exactly.
mistakes.
Exactly. Are you still there for the customer? Are you going to make it right? One of our core values, partner French, is own your shit.
Yep.
Integrity thing, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
So if you own up to any mistake, whether it was your fault or not, and you take care of the customer, ultimately they're going to be the happy ones, and they're still going to refer you.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
We're,
So moving away from the roofing, sorry, I'm interested in the lighting
Yeah.
part.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I want to know how this works.
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
are they like big, little, like, I have no idea what this
Yep,
entails.
so they're
Stand
little.
out there with flashlights.
Yeah.
Every night?
Yep.
Sweet.
And you gotta text
Kinda
me what
creepy,
colors
though.
you want and
You'll bring
what
the right
pattern, and then I will.
I'll pay more for that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll
That
pay
would
for
be
that.
a little creepy.
So they are little LED pucks. So they're little circular pucks. They're flat. They all sit in an aluminum track.
Okay.
So the aluminum track actually matches your soffit and fascia, so that way you don't really see them unless you're standing right underneath it or they're on.
Okay.
People walking by, driving by, don't even notice them.
Okay.
And then they're all strung together. They're soldered together, so that way we're not using easy connections that in Wisconsin
Break.
with rain and break and crack and the seals go. They're all actually soldered, and then they got sleeves that are heat shrunk around them. Then they all plug into basically a box that we mount. Typically, we like to mount inside a garage if it's attached. Otherwise, we can do it outside as well. And it's got a little controller and power module there. It's all 12 volts. So we just plug it into an outlet then. We don't actually have to tie into your wires or anything like that. And then you download an app, and you can control it all from your app.
So it's Wi-Fi. or is
Wi-Fi,
that
yep,
Bluetooth?
it's Wi-Fi. So
Wi-Fi.
it is Wi-Fi.
And there's unlimited colors, unlimited patterns. You can make your own stuff. They have a lot of preset stuff in there. And our app is so even specific that if you want that color of your can there, and you want that color green or that color gold, if you know the color code number, you can type that code in, and it'll give you that color on that light.
Okay.
And
That
then
is
you can
very
customize it any way you want.
So there's a house in my neighborhood that has them, and I don't know if it's like how they're mounted or what, but they actually make like a pattern, and it almost goes like this.
So that's going to be Govee. So like the little shadow areas you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's going to be Govee lighting. Govee lighting is a
different?
DIY typically,
Oh, okay.
right? You can buy it at...
So I can make fun of them for DIY.
You can,
Sure.
yep. So you can buy it at Walmart, Sam's Club, off of Amazon.
Okay.
How those are attached are they actually just have 3M tape, and they are stuck up.
So they're going to be falling
So
soon.
most likely they're going to be falling soon.
Okay.
Especially in Wisconsin, over a couple of years, they're probably going to be falling. The biggest reason why you see the shadows, though, is because those spacing between each light is about 16 inches. Ours are 9 inches.
And
Okay.
typically they
So
mount
you cover
those
the
right
shadow
against
stuff.
where the soffit, which is the underpan by where the gutters are here, your soffit here, and your wall of your house. They typically mount them closer to the wall. So
Okay.
you can see the defined little triangles
Yep.
shadowed down.
Yep.
And ours is more of an effect light.
Towards
so
the
it's at the end of it, towards where the gutter is mounted, but just underside.
Okay.
And it looks like a more soft light across the whole thing.
Okay.
And then you can change like how bright it is. So there's competitors out there that say, well, they went with our our low package, which only had 1 light or 3 lights, and they went with the higher package for brightness. Ours are 0 to 100%. You can change it any way you want.
Any
Okay.
brightness, yeah.
The only thing that people have said that isn't the greatest is our app, because it can't be accessed outside of your home. You have to be
connect it
on your
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi network. And we have to explain it to customers, because with security now,
Yeah.
the
Anybody
cloud
could
stuff,
tap in.
Yeah.
that's another way that people can hack into your Wi-Fi at home through the light system,
Right.
which we've had record of that happening. And it now seals it completely away from anything. So unless you're in your home, which you can set it up for like future times on and off and different patterns, different hours, different lights. I think he's got it set for 3 different times at one night. And I've got mine set from when the sun goes down to sun comes up. This is what color comes on, and I leave it on until it goes off.
So if there's an app for it, is there a subscription?
Nope. It's all free.
It's all
Okay.
free through the purchase of the lights.
So can I ask what the pricing is like for those?
So, depending on how many feet you want, right? Most people right now, what we see is typically just do the front. Unless you have a corner lot, then they'll do front and side. You can do front, side, all the way around. It's typically depending on how, kind of like roofing too, right? If you've got second story or crazy peaks, it's a little bit more than just your standard ranch. But if you had a standard ranch, you're typically around $38 a foot.
Okay.
So
And then you still have to buy the power box.
the power box, which
which
is
is about
$500.
$300.
Okay.
And that can handle up to 500 linear feet.
Yes.
Okay.
But like if there's if your roof line is cut up a lot, is what Andy's talking about, and you got to go and put blank track in, and then put the lights and then blank track, and then keep doing that. Takes a lot of extra time.
Sure.
So those cost individual when you have to go around all that stuff. But the track itself is, I would say, between 35 and 40 a foot is
Okay.
roughly what it is.
Yep.
Okay.
And there's like slim markup on that at all.
Yeah.
Like we don't really make any money on those lights.
it's
They're
more
it's a
of
cool
just a-
thing. It's just
It
a
is
cool
cool.
thing.
Cool.
Cool thing. Yep.
Yeah, it's a cool
Like I said,
Yeah.
I wanted to do it for years, and like
Yep.
I said, this would be cool for our
It
customers.
is cool. Well, you figure like how much time do you spend doing Christmas lights all the
Yes.
time? And my
Taking
husband
them-
and I have
taking-
actually
putting them up,
stopped
taking them
doing
down.
them
Yep.
because they're such a pain, and we wouldn't take them down until like mid-March. And
I was
our
like,
neighbors
Why
were
would
like,
you take them down at all? Just put them
Yeah,
up all year.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
And it's a safety factor too. So just like when who was the Packer gentleman that fell off his ladder?
Oh, was that
and-
Max McGee?
Max McGee, yeah. I said Pat McGee the other day, but it was Max McGee. That's
Yeah.
right. Max McGee
Pat
died.
McAfee.
Yeah, Pat McAfee. Yeah, see, I was wrong. So he ended up dying cleaning out his gutters.
Yeah.
Well, how dangerous it is to put, where do you put Christmas lights? Hanging
On
from
the
your
gutters.
gutters
Right.
and on your peaks, and you got to get up on your roof. And not to mention, if you start walking around on your asphalt roof, you can damage your asphalt roof. And guess what your manufacturer's warranty says is if you walk on your roof after it's installed, what happens do you think of your warranty?
Valid or
It's
invalid.
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 So there's another little snippet
Yep.
in there that says, oh, you put Christmas lights up on the eve of your roof. Oh, guess what? You don't have a warranty anymore.
Yeah.
So this gives the customer the ability to have any pattern. So like right now, mine are on, it's firefighter week. So contributed to firefighters until May 4th. So I have them on firefighter red. So every night it just illuminates red on my whole house.
Yeah.
And then, I think Memorial Day is the next big one. So I'm going to have like red, white, and blue.
For Remax,
For,
right?
yeah, for
For
Remax,
Remax,
too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's Remax Day.
Yeah.
And then when the draft was going on, I had Packer colors,
Yep.
and I even asked, I put a post out there. I'm like, I'm lost. I don't know what colors. There's so many I get.
Yeah.
What do you want?
It's cool.
What do people want to see? And they're like, oh, you should do this, this, and this. And so I changed it. And
That's awesome.
It's really neat.
So my neighborhood, we don't have street lights.
Yep.
And there are some parts that none of the houses leave their house lights on at night. So it's so dark, even just driving through those areas. And my house and probably like 5 others right in our area, we always leave all of our outside lights on all night long. And it's so nice. And I think for security reasons too, right?
So we
I can't
have a-
believe that
yep,
they have
yep.
these dark patches in
Oh,
my
yeah.
neighborhood. Like, why would you do that?
We have a security setting on ours as well, so you can do
Hot
like
lights.
couple
Exit
lights
lights.
on,
Yep.
couple sections off, couple lights on, or you can just do like a soft white, like a yellowish color, or you can do
Bright white.
security and be
Yep.
all white, like
Yep.
as
Daylight.
bright as you
Daylight.
possibly can. And then your neighbors are going to be a little upset. I think I live in I say a retired community. It's not really. It's just everybody in my neighborhood is a little bit older and they're all retired. So I had, when I got my lights installed, I had one of the neighbors come over and he's, because I have a guy that did the Govee DIY and he thought mine were really awesome. And I said, yeah. And then I had another guy come over. He's like, man, those are some pretty bright lights, Shane. And I'm like, yep. And that was his subtle way of saying, like, it's
Turn down a
bright.
bit.
Yeah.
Maybe
Turn
turn
it
it down.
Yep.
And I'm like, he's the only guy that complained. Everybody else was like, I love your lights. It's
He's
so
like
great.
Cosmo Kramer when
Yeah,
the light was
because
shining.
I mean, I didn't just do the front. I did the sides and the back, and it lights up. And I have a small lot. I mean, I live in a small little ranch, and it's just like, it's very, very loud.
But you can set them up. So I set them up, turning on at about dusk, right? So sunset, they turn on. They turn back off at 10. And then my wife, Wednesdays and Sundays, she gets up very early to go to work. So I have them turn on about 4:30, just pot lights.
Okay.
And they're just stationary white lights, so she can at least see getting out to the car and that kind of stuff, right? And then turn off at sunrise. But you can get as crazy as you want. You may have seen my Facebook post on it, but Chad knows I'm a huge hockey fan. I've got them green and white, and then when they score,
Oh, cool.
I have them rotating red.
So,
That's really
So
cool.
my neighbors are super happy.
so that automatically, when they score, or are you
No,
doing
so you
it?
can't do
Yeah.
that.
Did it,
It's just
yeah.
a button on the
Okay.
app that I hit play, and it changes it to that chasing
I was
red.
like, what kind of
That would
AI
be pretty cool.
are you
So,
operating with?
Well,
Eventually, it'll probably get to that
I'm
point,
sure.
you know?
Talking with, so Glowstone is the company that we use. That's the manufacturer that we install. And talking with them, they are in the works of integrating it with Alexa and Google Home and that sort of stuff.
That'd be
They're not
great.
quite there yet, but it's one of those things where it's all app based too. So as new features come out, they'll update the app, they'll get it out there, and
And they just add those features to your current existing product.
Yeah.
yeah, because there's no subscription. You're not paying for added features or anything like that. You pay for the lights, you get them. So
Cool.
It would be so cool if they could work that in with your security system or even motion.
motion,
Yeah.
yep.
And
So-
I'm going to be completely transparent because it's the only way I know how to do business. But there's one disadvantage to our lights right now. They come out of Canada. We're the only company in pretty much the whole continental United States that offers Glowstone. So we're exclusive dealers for them. We found we believe the best manufacturer to make these products, and they've been doing it for a long time. But because of what's going on in the country right now, our product, and we just had a customer, and she called. She's not upset, but she's not too
Just
pleased
wondering.
about it.
She was
She's
wondering.
wondering because we don't have any answers. We ordered it. They said it would be here in a week or two, and it got delayed in customs. That's out of our control.
Yep.
So we just asked for customers to just be understanding. Like, we'll get them to you as soon as we possibly can. Like, we got them that day. As soon as we got them, we scheduled
The
the
next
very
day.
next day.
Sure.
So it's like we get them. It's not like we're sitting on them waiting and like, oh, we're doing this on purpose. Like, that's the only disadvantage that we have right now is because of what's going on in our country and the world, to be honest with you. It's getting stopped in
Little bit
customs
delays.
right now, and then we get the product, and then we're fine. But
So are you thinking that the prices are gonna jack
we
up
haven't
a
seen
little
anything.
bit?
We haven't
seen it
seen
yet.
anything with tariffs or anything. We get that question asked a lot. 90% of our stuff is made right here in the United States,
Okay.
including that new solar stuff. They're actually making a factory down in Florida right now, but it is sourced overseas right now. And once they finish the factory here, we feel like the prices will stay the same or even drop a little bit because we don't have to worry about tariffs and we don't have to worry about importing costs and
The
customs
shipping costs.
and shipping costs.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
But right now, that's really the only thing that we have that's not made right here in the United States.
Yep.
All of our, and we get this question asked a lot, like, where do your workers come from? And it's that touchy subject, right? Do you have? And I'm like, yes, we have subcontractors, and this is who they are, but they're all local here. Yes, they may be Hispanic. However, they go to school with my kids. They work in our community. They're local.
They're
not
part of the community.
Yeah, they're not like we just
We're not
went
shipping
down
them
and
in.
brought
Right, it's
people
not-
up here to do roofing, and they can't speak English. Like one of our goals and one of our qualifications to even want to work with us is you have to be able to speak English. You got to be open to training and growth. And if you're not willing to do any of those, then we can't have you on our team because it's
Communication is key.
Correct.
huge.
Yeah.
What is your vetting process? You know, when I have your crew come out,
Sure.
how do I know that my stuff's safe? How do I know that my family's safe?
Absolutely.
Good
So
question.
one of the biggest things is, like Shane said, we do use sub crews, but the sub crews that we use, our production manager vets them thoroughly. So he not only checks all their documents, whatever they need. But he also goes back to see their past work as well, so past homes that they may have worked on. He likes to see how they work. Then we also put them through training so that way they know what they're doing with our products and how we want them done and how the manufacturer wants them done. But also the production, somebody from production usually, and then also the product consultant is always there at job kickoff to kind of say, okay, that's typically where my lives come from, right? So, hey, here, we're starting a roof, right? And then either production or myself or product consultant is checking in throughout the day as well, just to make sure everything's going safe and secure. Very rarely, unless it's like windows, and that's really probably the only thing other than permanent lights sometimes, because to get in with the box for in the garage, we're never having to, the crews don't have to go inside at all.
Perfect.
So there's often times where customers will ask, well, do I have to be here for it? If we're doing a roofing or siding project, absolutely not. We're not going inside for any reason. So they're not going into, get in the attic or take a bathroom break or anything. They're strictly exterior.
Okay. I do want to hit on siding.
Yeah.
How has siding changed? Like, is vinyl siding today just the same as vinyl siding?
It can be.
In 98?
It can be.
Yeah.
Or
Depends where you buy it.
Same sort of thing. Same sort of, right? So if you buy it from Menards and stuff, absolutely. We work with a brand, Norandex, that their technology that they've used in their siding, they actually use 3 products, and I don't know exactly what they're off the top of my head, but it's essentially like sunscreen to help from fading and that sort of stuff, especially for like their darker colors, right? Because it's really big right now that people are going darker colors.
I see people painting their siding and then melting.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't paint it because it'll melt. It'll chip off, that kind of stuff.
It melts?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they go to
if
a
it
dark
gets real
color.
sun,
no.
or getting that beam off of a window and stuff too.
Wow.
So the technology and the coloring to keep it from fading has come a long way. And then even like with the Norandex, I would call it our base standard siding is thicker than most base standard siding. So ones that you can get at Menards and stuff are typically like a .040 or a .042. We start base at a .044.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like a lot, but just an extra little bit of millimeter is going to help it
mow your
from
lawn
warping.
and the rock comes out and
Yeah.
shatters or
We see
you
that
barely
all the
touch
time.
it and it
Yeah.
shatters.
Yep.
Our product will withstand a little bit more of that.
Sure.
And then we also have a .46.
Yep.
And then our best product, and again, we're more into
Permanent.
once and done, never
Steel
have to worry
siding.
about it.
Yep.
So we have a
Not quite
product that's
steel.
made right here in Wisconsin called LP Diamond Coat. It's a wood-based product from the white pines and white spruce pines up in northern Wisconsin, and they make it into a product that is insect and bird proof and everything. And it comes with a 50-year guarantee, and we put it up there, and it's guaranteed against pretty much everything. And it looks like
it's
wood.
wood.
It
It's
looks
wood.
like wood. It feels like wood, but it's a synthetic wood. So, and it's got a special paint on it that doesn't come off or fade or anything like that. So,
Essentially, they chop it all up, put resins in it and stuff, and compress it, and then do other coatings and protectants on it, so it's a lot denser, a lot thicker than just cutting a board and putting like cedar siding, right?
Sure.
Okay.
So it's going to withstand a lot more of that kind of stuff because it's all
All that resin in there,
Yep.
keeping it strong.
Yeah.
so again, just like roofing, that comes with a little bit more cost, but
Yep.
you never have to touch it again.
Yep.
And then we also offer a product called Lux, which is new. That is metal siding that's as thick as our stone coated metal roof, but instead of stone coating or anything on it, they actually take a 3D image printer and imprint like whatever color and whatever wood grain flavor type of design that you want on it. And that usually is designed as an accent part of the house, like around the living room window or maybe around the garage dormers and stuff like that, or a commercial property, because we do commercial work as well. And that is a 50-year product, but it's a 3D metal image printed product, which is really neat to see.
So I have.
I said I love cool stuff.
It's so neat. It's so neat.
I have metal siding on my or
Yep.
steel siding
Yep.
on my house, and we have a huge chunk of it that, like, when the sun hits it, it makes so much noise.
Oh yeah. It's going to expand.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's expanding and contracting. When we first moved in, we thought we had a family of squirrels living behind it
Oh,
because
sure.
it was so loud.
Yeah.
And anybody that comes over and we're like talking in the driveway or whatever, and it's like
hear
popping
it.
and cracking, and they're like, "Is your house okay?"
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about that. That's,
And it could be, it might not even be, it probably is the siding, but it might not even be the siding itself. It could be the install.
Yep.
If they
Okay.
nail it too tight and it doesn't have room to flex
Oh,
and move,
sure.
and it's rubbing against those nails, or it's pulling and goes pop, 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 and
Yeah.
it makes that noise, it's expanding and contracting, or they didn't put enough gaps in it to make for the expanding,
allow
or
that, huh?
they installed it in the winter and made it the same install as the summer, and then in summer it expands and it starts to buckle, or in the summer you cut it, or in the winter you cut it that way, and then it shrinks, and then you have bigger gaps like this. So
Okay.
there is not everybody can just do this, and people
Right.
think, well, how hard can it be, or
Yeah.
it's just siding, or it's just a roof, or it's just windows. It's not that complicated.
That's not anything that I would have ever thought about though, but it makes total sense.
People
Expanding.
genuinely
Yes.
don't think about all that stuff. So 90% of what we do is we educate our customers, and whether they go with us or not, we just want them to be more educated. So whenever it does come time to make a decision, they can make a better educated decision with the most valuable thing that they have, their home, and the most expensive thing, like their wallet, right? Everybody wants to hold on to their money, and things are getting more and more expensive every single day. So if we can help relieve some of that stress, because when you start talking money, it's a pain point. You guys know that. I mean, I want this house. Well, that's out of your budget. Oh, but I love that house. It doesn't work that way, right?
Right.
How do you? I know you want a Ferrari, but you can only
I
afford
really
a
love that
Pinto.
Ferrari, yeah.
Sorry, like
Yeah.
we help educate the customer. So whether they go with us or anybody else, at least they have as many tools in their tool chest that they can make a better educated decision when it comes time to it. And we've had a lot of customers that after they've seen what we do and they maybe have already had a project done with somebody else, then they start looking at their home and they're like, man, I wish you would have done our home. I refer you all of the business. This last contractor did this. Because we ask, like, what type of qualities are you looking for before you decide to move forward with this? And they'll give you either the deer in the headlights. I've never done a home remodeling project before. Okay, cool. Well, we'll work you with that. Or, oh my gosh, I had John down the street come and do my whatever, and if this, and that's
Right.
a laundry list. And you're
Yeah.
like, okay, let's tackle this laundry list. I want you to feel comfortable, so whenever it comes time for you to make a decision, you can make the best educated decision for your needs, and hopefully we can
I
help them.
love that. Oh,
So, I know we've kept you guys a long time, but we need to know the answer to this one.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
So, if money were not an object for you,
Okay.
what would be one of the most what would be your favorite thing that you haven't been able to do or install just because the price point is just so crazy? No customer is willing to do it. But what's something that you would do to a house if they were just like, hey, we want you to showcase the best of the best, the newest tech.
God.
What would you do roof wise? What were we doing siding? What are we doing windows? What's the best of the best if money was just not an object to you
had that
guys?
question asked before.
So I had one that it's a unique product, and we actually did install it recently on a small gazebo. But to see it on a house would be really cool. But it is pretty expensive. It's called Da Vinci,
Okay.
and it's a composite, so kind of like a vinyl siding, but it's for roofing, and you can get it either to look like slate or cedar shake.
Oh.
And so we just did one for a small gazebo because they had cedar on it and they wanted that look, but they didn't want to deal with doing cedar again because
Yep.
it rots, it whatever.
Yep.
So we did that. We did Da Vinci on that. But to do a whole house, I had an opportunity at the last company I was at to possibly do that on it was a 130 square roof that it would have been $300,000 to do. And he ended up going with a different product.
I can't imagine why.
Right.
He was all for it. He wanted it, and then he found a different product that he liked just a little bit better. And it probably was around the same price point, but yeah, to do a whole house would have been really cool with that.
Wow. So when you walk up to a house, I know that you guys, being the experts, you walk up to a house and you pretty much can know the issues pretty much right away.
Sometimes.
Okay.
So we always do attic inspections as well, because sometimes you can't until you get in the attic and then see it, right?
Okay.
So a roof can look pretty good on the outside, and you're up on the roof and looking at everything, and it looks okay. And then you get in the attic, and now you start seeing leaks,
Okay.
wet spots on the decking, or water, staining and that kind of stuff. So sometimes it does take a little digging into it. But yeah, there are homes that you'll walk up and go, you have no granules left. So good point for you guys too, if you ever are showing a home or you're looking at a home or whatever, and you walk up to a house and it's a bright sunny day and it looks like somebody went up and threw glitter up on the roof, that's the fiberglass. The stones have all come off, the asphalt's now worn away, and the fiberglass is shining in the sun.
Oh.
That's past time to do the roof.
All right.
So if you ever
when
see...
the roof looks like a vampire.
Yeah, when the roof looks like a vampire and shivering in the sun.
That's right. I'm like,
you can know that as soon as you walk up, they need a roof. Yep.
Roofs don't look like vampires. Wait, Twilight. Yeah, I've seen that a long time ago. That's right. It sparkles.
That was good.
So far off on the subject.
Sorry.
I love it. No, I love it.
So what's something a homeowner, can look at in their home, like a 30-second checklist? Like, what's a few things that they can kind of look at to know and make sure that their roof, their home is in good shape? If they're looking at their windows even. So window, siding, roof, what's a quick, walk around, what should I be looking for? What are some, like, red flags that I should keep my eye out for?
Some of the obvious ones are that with the roof, right? If it's glistening in the sun, you got your fiberglass is poking through, right?
Or it looks patchy.
Looks patchy.
Like blacky, crunchy spots almost.
Yep. So
like
if your
that.
roof is brown, but you got these gray, black spots, again, granules will come off. That's the asphalt showing.
Okay. And if you can't see the roof, go to your gutters and your downspouts and look at where the kickouts are. And if you see a bunch of excessive stones, it might be time for you to have somebody go and look on the roof if you don't feel comfortable. If you feel comfortable getting on your ladder, you can look in your gutters, and if they're filled with gunk, dirt doesn't just land in your gutters.
Right.
It comes from somewhere, and it comes from your roof.
Yep.
So all that stuff where you've seen like trees growing out of your gutters, that's probably because it's all the roof in your gutters. So that's a roof thing.
Okay. Siding's more of a want than a need.
Right.
So usually we don't get calls unless it wasn't done properly in the first place. Builders back in the day used to not have to put house wrap in certain areas of the home.
Oh, okay.
So like on a garage, it typically didn't need it back in the day, so we typically will find leaks there. But usually siding does not fully keep water out.
Right.
The house wrap is what protects the wood, right?
I've heard the saying that a siding is more aesthetic.
It's aesthetic, correct.
It does work with energy efficiency.
Yep, that kind of stuff.
If people ask us, like, well, what's the most important? The first thing, of course, is your foundation. The next is your roof. After that, it's kind of like windows and siding.
Yep.
Sure.
And you could do siding and then windows, but usually you want to do windows and then siding.
Sure.
Because you can wrap the windows better after you've replaced the siding.
Okay.
You can tuck it better.
Yeah. But things to look for siding issues is, especially if you have an attached garage, if it was built in the 2000s, see if there's any water staining on the inside.
Okay.
Sometimes there wasn't house wrap put there, or chips from rocks and the corner posts like to break sometimes, that sort of stuff. Windows, it's mostly an energy efficiency thing, right? So if it's drafty or if it's foggy, condensation, you got to be careful of condensation, because condensation will happen even with new windows as well, because the window itself is actually doing its job and being efficient, but it's keeping that cool air out, and it hits the warm air and it will just condensate in there. So it's not always mean that
inside
there's a problem.
The house, usually, not in between
Correct.
the windows.
No, not in between the glass, but inside the house. Right?
Okay,
So,
so that was
inside. So on
if
the
you've
inside
ever
of the
seen a
glass.
house where, and usually it's at night or in the morning when it's starting to come up, and it's got that like curve, like looks like a big mirror almost in between, and it's you can't clean it because it's in between the panes. That window has failed.
Sure.
So all the gas inside the window to make it energy efficient has seeped out of the seals along the edges out of pinholes.
Okay.
And now there's nothing left in there. So now when hot and cold get in there, it's like your mirror in your bathroom when you get out of the shower. It fogs up, and there's no way to fix that.
Okay.
You have to get the window replaced. You could try to get reglazed, but it's typically better for just to replace if you're going to go ahead and do it.
Okay.
Another thing is if you look at all your trim molding along the bottoms and on the sides, if you notice it's starting to get like little black spots, like the M word that we talked about before, and you start to notice it just doesn't look as clean aesthetically, it might be time for an inspection for us to come and take a look and just give you an honest feedback.
Okay.
And we're just going to be straight shooters with you on it.
So I have a question.
A lot of
Well,
questions.
my
Yeah, you got lots of questions.
I
That's
know.
fine. Bring them.
All with my house.
Yeah, sure.
So we have our windows were replaced in 2014, and it looks like that was before we moved in. Okay, it looks like the people that lived there before bought extra windows and just stored them in like the attic above the garage. Are those windows still good, or probably not, because they're like probably the same age stamp?
It's hard to tell. You really can't tell unless you install it and you
Okay.
see the hot and the cold from inside outside.
Okay.
I personally wouldn't take a chance. I would just.
I don't understand why they did that, because they're big, like 3-pane windows.
They're just storing up in your.
Yeah. They're just up there.
You want the guy answer or you want the construction answer?
I want both.
Okay, so the construction answer, I have no clue why. The guy answer is because we can't get rid of stuff, and you never know when that 2x4 might come in handy.
You might be able to use it.
Or might be able to use it, or I've got a deer blind.
that's
I'm gonna.
expensive.
Yeah, but I
Why
got a
would you
deer
do
blind. I could probably
That'd
put
be
these
perfect.
in, or a cabin sometime. I will eventually build a cabin, and I need an extra window or a hunting shack,
true.
or
Maybe it was buy one, get one?
maybe no. Okay, buy one get one. We know that's
We know
not
that
really.
deal.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
If people are
Okay.
believing that, like it works. Like people call and they should know, like, yeah, you're getting a deal, but it's really they're not going to put labor in for free or
Right.
do a buy one get one free window.
Let's average out the cost here.
Correct.
I just didn't understand why that would
Yeah.
be like.
No, it's the guy answer is probably they couldn't get rid of it and they had extra and they're just like, well, I just want to keep it just in case I need something in the future.
Okay.
And that just in case is 10 years from now and they forget about it and then they go and buy new stuff and they're like, oh yeah, I forgot I had that on there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the guy answer. The
Okay.
construction answer, I have no clue why people do that. Because
Okay.
people are like, well, can I keep a couple bundles of shingles? Why? If you have an issue, just call us. We'll get it replaced. Well, what if I have an issue? Did you replace the shingle now? No. Well, then why do you need a couple bundles of shingles?
Do you think in 20 years from now, when you're that much older, you're going to want to do it?
Yeah. So
And the
what's-
fade's gonna be completely different,
Just,
so-
just in case.
Yeah. Sure.
That's the
Sure.
human nature, just in case.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hoard as much stuff, and depends. Like my grandfather grew up in the Depression, so I mean, there was so much junk in his house because he's like, well, I could use that half-broken Band-Aid somewhere down the road, or
Ew.
that half-broken rubber band, or
Yep.
water
Save
bottle. I
everything.
could cut that in half and use it for that. I'm like, why? Like, just buy new stuff. I'm like,
Yep.
well, that's not how we were raised.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
So it's probably a little bit of both
Okay.
of all
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Like, you never know when I'm going to need that
Yeah.
half-cut 2x4. Just throw the thing away and buy another 2x4.
Okay.
Speaking of buy one, get one,
Oh boy.
what's one outdated industry practice that you want to see die forever?
And that's probably some of it is the gimmicks.
Yeah, the gimmicks I think are big. The other thing I wish that would die is we've been called high pressure. And the people that call us high pressure, when I get the feedback, because I call people and we get our feedback from our customers on why didn't you move forward, or what were you happy with, or what could we have improved. Well, the guy was really high pressure. Okay, well what did he say? Well, he asked if I'd move it forward with a roof.
Wasn't that why you called?
Okay, yeah, well that was too high pressure. Okay, so we're not high pressure. We have to ask for the business, right? And that's what we're going to do. I mean, just like you guys, right? Trying to, do you want to move forward with a house? Okay, let's move forward. And then we start the next process. It's the companies that charge way too much and then they discount tens of thousands of dollars and force customer into kicking that person out of the house. The so high pressure sales. Like, Chad, I know you said no right now, but I need to earn your business no matter what, and I'm not leaving until you call the cops on me. That is a typical thing with some high pressure salespeople,
companies,
and that's not the right thing. The other thing that I wish people would understand is the whole, and there's companies out there that advertise like get a bunch of estimates and whatever, right? I would rather have, if you trust the product, you trust the company, and you trust the warranty, and you trust the person in front of you, that's the right decision to make. Go with your gut, right? You don't need 5 other estimates. You don't need 3 other estimates. Like, you can, but they're not going to be apples to apples. Everybody's going to have a little bit different out there. And unfortunately, a lot of the trucks, they try to go and, well, people are only shopping on $1. Well, that's okay. And I always use the analogy, if I had 3 cars and they were exactly the same year, same make, the only thing different was color. One was 5,000, one was 10, and one was 15. Which one would you buy? With that information, what would you buy?
Cheapest one.
The $5,000 one. Well,
Yeah.
that one, the engine blew out last week. Now which one would you buy?
Probably the next cheapest one.
Yep. So the tires are bald and it needs an oil change, and there's a knocking happening and the muffler fell off.
Ooh, that knocking. Is it a
Okay.
6.2?
Okay. So, but you'd buy the $15,000 one now?
I'd move up.
Let me tell you what you get with the $15,000 one. Peace of mind. You never have to worry about changing the oil, changing the tires. Everything's been maintained on it. And when you go to sell this, I will give you $15,000 back out of the car just to give it back to me. Which one are you going to buy from me?
Yeah, that one sounds pretty darn good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if a customer looks at it from a roofing perspective, if we get back into that, and there's 3 other estimates, and all they do is just give you the numbers and
Yep.
the product name, there's so much else that goes into it. Make the right decision that you feel comfortable with, whether it's us or the next company that comes in and talks to you. But I've asked customers, like, how many estimates do you think you're getting? Well, about 15, 10, 7. Okay, well, how are you going to make a decision? You guys going to play a game and blindfold each other with darts and turn each other and spin and throw the darts at the wall? Because there's no way that you're going to remember 3 estimates, 10 estimates, 5 estimates, all the details behind everything.
Right?
Once the guy's there, if it makes sense, then makes sense. Move forward with it.
Sure.
Yep.
You know,
I
it's
think
not
that-
a pressure thing. It's just do it.
And you get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for. Exactly.
Well, and would you really want a company working for you that didn't ask for your business?
Right?
Well, and that's
How are you
just
going to get
it,
any business if you
right?
don't ask for it?
Right.
Yep.
And if that's high pressure for some people, I'm sorry, then I guess we're not the company to work with you. Like, I'm not just, here's a bid, let me know if you ever want to do it.
Right.
Because then I'm just let's try to go for the cheapest dollar out there, and I'm not providing any value. I'll go down to Menards and I'll buy the cheapest shingles with the off-market whatever, and I will find the cheapest crew down the street, and I'll get your roof put on, no problem.
Yep.
Honestly, it's the same in the real estate industry.
Yeah.
You get what you pay for with your agent.
Yep, exactly.
And
I
you
think-
guys got to know a lot in the real estate
Yeah.
agent. You got to know all the terms and conditions. When you go down to, I just read a post about a lady who said, real estate's
quit.
not for me. I
I
quit.
saw that
And
yesterday.
then she's like,
Yeah.
when a customer signs, you don't understand. It's like 18 hours a day that we spend on them, and they're expected us to answer the phone 24/7, no matter what, email, text. Like, that just is an unwritten rule. I'm like, holy crap. You
There's
guys
a
have a
lot.
lot. So what we have to do in the home is we have to educate ourselves on all the products, how they're installed the right way, how to take care of the crews, how to talk to people in a home, and then how to be a banker and a financer as well, and then be able to follow up with the customers. Because we have to talk educated about how to make this project affordable for the customer. So you're not just paying for some dumb sales guy to come out and sell you a roof and then run off to the next guy and take your money and run. We're here to educate and help you make the best decision.
Yep.
And that does cost a little bit of money.
And that's why
But
we
you get what
lean
you
on
pay for.
you
Exactly.
for all the expert part.
Yep.
Like,
Exactly.
we know enough to be dangerous,
Exactly.
but yeah, we have the resources that we need to reach out to people.
Yeah.
I think to go along with that, for me, it's like you said, the education part of it, but we try to do as best we can quotes, not estimates. And there's
Yep.
a difference. And the reason we do that is because we are trying to get in the attic. We are trying to get on the roof and actually inspect it. We are trying to look at all these things so that way I can give you an upfront, honest price. You have a lot of contractors out there that won't even get on the roof, don't get in the attic.
They take
They'll shoot you a
pictures.
price. Yep, they'll shoot you a price. And yes, their price is down here. But now, if something were to go wrong, let's say they tear off the roof and now you need 3-4 sheets of decking because it's rotted that they didn't see, they're going to do what they call a change order.
Yep. And
Chad,
boom.
I gotta change, this out. And we got to do 4 sheets. I'm going to charge you $2,000 more. Well, now we found this. Got to charge you $3,000 more. And sometimes it comes right up to what we were at because we saw all that first. Sometimes it goes above that. So I think the honesty part is the one thing that I would try and change in this industry is we try to be as honest and upfront as possible. And most of the time when I'm quoting something in the home, I almost quote it worst case scenario, right? I can see all these things, but I don't fully know. So I'd rather quote you here just in case. And if we don't need all those things, awesome. You get a credit
Right.
at the end.
We'll go back.
How much happier are you going to be if I say it's going to be 24 and now I come back and say, hey, it's
22.
23, 22 versus, hey, it's 20, but now it's 24.
Right. We're,
Under promise, over deliver.
and that's we can totally relate with that, like in our industry, and like that's why I appreciate that upfront, pricing and value. Like, for us, when someone asks us to list their home, there's a lot of agents, especially when they know they're competing, where they're going to tell you what you want to hear, and they're going to give you the highest price possible. And then, a week later, what do you know? There's a price reduction on them.
Yep.
Sure.
But they've earned that business now, and now they've reduced the price. So I totally am on board with that upfront pricing and the honesty. And I feel like that always comes back in the long run.
Yeah. And we do our best, but there's been, I think, 2 customers in the last month really is what happened, and there were some unforeseen stuff. We did the greatest inspection possible, and we got into the project and we're like, we would never have known, nobody would have known this. So we have to have that conversation with the customer at that time and just be like, hey, this is, unfortunately, if you want us to do it the right way, this is what it's going to cost. And that's just, we'll try to eat as much of it as we can, but
it's like Property Brothers, right? When they have to go back and ask for another $50,000.
Yeah. Oh, by the way.
So guys, thank you.
And hold on, I guess the other thing I would cover too is if I could say anything to the contractors that are out there in this similar industry and field is, we're all here to work together as a team. We're all here to help each other. Live with an abundant mindset. There's more than enough projects to do in this area, enough people to help, enough community to help. Let's all work together.
Can't do it alone.
When we can't get along and we fight or we're trying to slander each other, the customer gets caught in the middle of that. And we just can't do that. It'd be like Remax fighting another agency, and it's like, why? Like, why do we do that? There is more than enough business for us to be out there. And if a contractor called me and asked me, hey, I don't know, I'm having an issue with a skylight leaking, which I've answered before, and I'm like, oh, did you replace the skylight? No. Did you change the flashing when you replaced the roof? No. There's your problem. It probably has a pinhole from rust over the time, or one of the guys, when they were ripping the roof off, did a little nick in there somewhere and you didn't catch it. It needs to be replaced. That's why you're having a customer issue. Oh, cool. I didn't know that. I'm here to help, give you as much information. Like, just call. We'll help out. Like, we're trying to live with an abundant mindset and give away as much information as possible, because we want the customers taken care of, because that's going to reflect better in the community, again, long term, not just try to take the sale for what it is and slander each other and talk bad about each other. There is no reason to do that.
Well, and I always feel like I am going to attract the type of people that I want to work with.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, there are so...
Oh, wow.
I'm kidding.
See what I have to deal with every day?
That's crazy.
So there are so many people that work just in this office. Like, I think we have like 40 agents or whatever. Everybody has a different personality, right? So there are some people that I probably, like, there are some people I don't want to work with. Like, they just drive me nuts or whatever, just the way that they handle things, I can't handle it. So then I'll give them to Chad, because maybe he can handle it. But anyway, there's enough people that I can do that with, right? And I have no problems doing that, because I know that the way I communicate isn't the same that everybody communicates that way. So I want that person getting the best service in the way that they communicate, right? So just to have enough personalities around to take care of everybody the way that they need to be taken care of. So
we strengthen the community's going to strengthen us. So.
Exactly.
There's too much hate
Play
in
nice
this world.
in the sandbox.
We just need to help each other and show more love.
Totally.
Yeah, Chad.
Yeah.
So, on that lovely note, guys, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I could keep you here all day, and talk all day, and I have like a million more.
I have so many more questions about my house.
So,
Have us out. We'll go over
give us a call.
Everything's free for us to come out.
Everything. Yep.
so, where can people get a hold of you? Where can people find you?
So you can either go to our website, rosenowcustoms.com, or you can call us toll free at 833-766-7663. You can go on to Facebook, send us a Facebook message, either me, the business, however you want to get a hold of us. There's There should be no reason why you couldn't find us. If you just Google Rosenow Customs, we're going to pop up everywhere.
You wanna
And
spell
now that we've
Rosenow?
talked about it, I'll probably show up in everybody's Facebook feed.
Spell Rosenow.
So
Yay!
Spell Rosenow.
Rosenow, like rose, like the flower, and now like immediately, and then customs with an S. Customs.
Houses, not cars.
Houses, not cars.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank
Cool,
you,
thank
guys.
you.
So much.